Yo, what's going on, family? And this is my first simulcast of the latest edition of Office Hours. We were not only tuning through our home station, our home network of FetLife Station at FetLifeStation.com. We're also coming to you on YouTube and on Facebook. That's right. YouTube and Facebook. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like because I'm trying something here, trying something new. But let's just see what it does. So it's currently 2 minutes after the hour. The temperature here in Philadelphia is a cool 83 degrees. Not too bad, not too crazy. And we here. So it's been a wild and crazy week. As I told some of you before, I had to do, I was invited to be part of a memorial service. My good brother, Eric Coleman, who passed away last week. And it was a truly special occasion where we got to, celebrate our good brother's life. So I just want to say shout out to, his surviving family, his wonderful wife and son who are taking in the mantle, maintaining the legacy of his brother and his good works. My brother was always helping me. So I hope that in the process of him passing on, more people will, be able to utilize that spirit. You know what I'm saying? And maintain it amongst themselves. It's been an interesting week though, because one of the things that I had intended on talking about today, one of the things that I was going to talk about, they had to slide down in the rotation because we were awakened to some terrible news, unfortunately. Those of you who are familiar here in Philadelphia with Gilly the Kid, well, now he's Gilly the King, and Wallow and their new podcast that they've been working on for the last few years, and their explosion in not just through social media, but they've really become celebrities. Fortunately, woke up to the news this morning that Gilly's son was murdered overnight. And it's just never good when you see somebody who's, when a person has to witness or bear witness to the untimely death of their children. It was just ironic to me that on this particular day a year ago, I was able to do a broadcast, and it spoke about another young brother from my neighborhood who unfortunately was murdered. And it was just an eerie experience, an eerie feeling, because we actually did a podcast about it. And one of the things that I want to talk about is, at this particular time, people are going to express their remorse. People are going to express their heartfelt condolences, and we'll hear all the cries that something has to change, something has to change. And I'm going to speak to it. Something really does have to change. But talk is cheap. We can consistently say something has to change. But until we become those agents of change, then there's no agency in any of the words we speak. And it shouldn't take a well-known person's family to be harmed in any way to get the collective of us to start funneling through those words and make those words make sense, turn those words into action. A lot of times when we say things like that, we hope somebody else picks up the mantle and they become the agent of change that we can cheer from the sideline. while we're sitting back sipping on our brew or knocking down, stogie and some cognac or whatever. But we're not actually willing to put in the sweat equity, the financial investment, the time investment to make those things happen. And it's only when it happens either to somebody too close to us or somebody that's well known and well regarded that we start having these cries for help and cries for change. But at some point, you have to be the change you wish to see in the world. While I'm not a fan of Gandhi, I do recognize that those words ring true. You have to be the influence. You have to be the one picking up the bricks and moving and mixing the mortar. You have to be the one with the game plan to make this thing happen. The blueprint. The blueprint is only valuable if you put the blueprint to work. Start building and starting with the foundation. And a lot of times we don't want to do the foundational work. We just want a microwave solution to these problems. So, like I said, rest in peace, Cheese, and my heartfelt condolences to Gilly and his family. I sure hope that that something good comes of this, even though this is a time for prayer, a time for comfort for the family. So, it's been an interesting week for some other reasons too. And I was having a conversation with a good brother of mine. And one of the things I was saying in that conversation was, bro, I'm really tired of having this conversation. I'm really tired of talking about these gender issues because I'm a nation builder. We're nation builders. And so when we have this conversation, it sort of takes us down this dark path because we don't necessarily see an applicable solution that doesn't involve cutting off a lot of people. So, but if you're talking about nation building, you got to have some complementary people to nation build with. And the toxicity that exists in the Black community that has existed for, I would say, the better part of a century, it creates a poisonous, infectious, dysfunctional relationship between all the different demographics. It's like the Willie Lynch letter becomes our Bible. It becomes our scripture. It becomes our hymns. It becomes our gospel. But we can't avoid this. We can't avoid the problems that exist within our community. So one of the things that we need to talk about, and just give me 1 second, I just want to double check and make sure that the link and everything is working, because you know how StreamYard is interesting, and I'm using StreamYard. It doesn't always come up like you think it is. Okay, so it is up. All right. And I'm just making sure that okay, I see what's going on. Edit privacy. Why is this only me? Okay. All right. Sometimes, man, when you try something new, you got to do something different. So, all right, here we go. The technical stuff. But don't worry. Like our elder or ancestor now, he's an ancestor now. Kevin Samuels once said, "We build it as we fly it," right? So, one of the things that I want to give a major shout out to, I put a call out this past week for the brothers to give us some savory advice, right? For the young brothers that are out here. And one of the things they did was they pulled up and they were able to speak on some things and speak life into our young men. So pulling it up now because it was just so empowering to see that we got over 35 responses. So the question I asked the brothers was, said, brothers, what advice would you have to pass on to young men to sort out before the age of 25? So I'm just going to give you a few of them because, like I said, it was a lot. And what one of the brothers said, I wouldn't, Brother Cyrus, shout out to Brother Cyrus Tell. He said, I wouldn't use sort out. I think remind them that as a man, your responsibility is to protect and provide for the people whom share the name and that can't do it for themselves. All right. He gave some examples, but I'm going to move on a little bit. My good brother, the mayor of Harlem, as I like to call him, Mark McPhee, stated that you don't have to be 40 to decide to start a business. The paradigm has shifted, and the time is now to move towards your dreams. Stay grounded and focused. And a lot of the messages was like that. You know what I'm saying? Get together as soon as possible. It's real out here as an adult. My good brother Eric Manson, excuse me. And and a lot of some sisters chimed in just for the simple fact that they saw some things that were so inspirational. They wanted to share them as posts on their page. And I say this to say that when a lot of brothers are getting their act together. A lot of people, and I'm bringing this up for a purpose, for a reason, right? Because a lot of the brothers are working. Like we heard the messages. We were, me myself, I was at the Million Man March in 1995. The message was the Day of Atonement for black men to become better men. The stigma and the stereotypes of black men up until that point, leaving the communities without leaders, succumbing to the drug culture at that particular time, not being identified as predators in our community, even though those labels were also given to us as well. But understanding that we had a role to fulfill. A lot of us took that to heart. And for the last 25 years, 30 years, we've made it our business to be better men for our community. And so the crop of black men, we're no longer in that place where we are the root of all negativity, the root of all malignant and malevolent behavior in our community. There's some things that are going on right now, but there are actually men trying to influence and change this. And I don't like to put my work out there because you have some malicious people who try to, if they don't like one part of your message, they make it their life's mission to destroy your life. So, but I work with a college program that's centered around the development of black men. It says black and brown, but we primarily focus on the program is 90% black men. These young brothers, I gave them a compliment because we have our groupings and our times that we gather, and I gave them a compliment for being the face of black men, for being the positive face, the force, being rooted, because this is typically what I see when I see young brothers when they gather in the mass of one another. And I just say, I need to give y'all your flowers. A lot of y'all are showing up to these programs. A lot of y'all could be out here in the streets doing God knows what, but y'all chose to be here. You come in diligently early every morning to help put yourself in a better position to be better men for the community. And they struggle with giving themselves that type of response and just receiving that. And it bothered me because when we have our young brothers out here, our community is so toxic that all they're used to hearing is about how they're no good this and they're no good that, how they're irresponsible, how they don't take accountability for things that go on in the community. And you know, I was having a conversation with my good brother Tad Cromwell, and he was talking about the fact that, you know, your attention goes where your energy flows. Meaning that if all you see is negative things happening, then typically speaking, that's because you're drawn to that negative energy. But I wanted these brothers to understand that they were worth something, they had value. So it bothered me immensely when I tuned in or I jumped on Facebook. I think it was maybe last week. And I've been seeing this post going around for the last little while, talking about today, this generation of men, and it was speaking specifically to black men, want submissive sponsors. And it bothered me because when I look at the numbers, 60% of the black men, 60%. You can go to blackdemographics.com or blackdemographics.org to find this out. 60% of black men are in the middle class. Less than 25%, less than 20, between 20 and 25% black men are responsible for over 80% of single parent households. 54% of black men up to the age of 30 are single and childless. So black men are doing the damn thing. We don't get the credit. We're often told that we're the ones tearing down the black community. We're the ones destroying the image of black women. But I want to speak something about that. Ebony K. Williams has made herself relevant again. You remember Ebony K. Williams, the one who interviewed, I forget who she interviewed, Yala Van Zandt. And she stated that she wouldn't date a bus driver unless he owned the bus. Well, she's back in the news again. This time encouraging affluent black women to volunteer to become single mothers by use of, in virtual fertilization, use of sperm banks. And I find it rich that in a day and time where black men have been identified as being the root causes, or the black men have been identified as being, the source of single parent homes. I find it rich that we're no longer like this concept that this concept of single parent household is no longer going to be something that black men even have a word in on. Like we're not going to even be able to address it if this is the way it goes, with women selectively choosing to be single mothers through this process. The only saving grace I can see for brothers is that brothers aren't delivering sperm to these banks anymore. Brothers aren't donating sperm to the sperm banks. So I don't know where you're going to get it. And brothers, understand your worth. These sperm banks, they're selling your sperm, the spark of life, that's produced by your loins for thousands of dollars per vial. So for one vial of your sperm, you're receiving, you might get $200-$300, but they're selling it for $2,000-$3,000 on the street. The turnaround, the math ain't mathing. And I think a lot of brothers are recognizing the value, and it also speaks to the state of black men economically speaking, because now you don't even have brothers who, just because they need money, going into these sperm banks, delivering, their life spark, if you will, to these sperm banks. So these sperm banks are scrambling. Y'all remember what happened with the brat when her and her wife tried to have a baby? But I find it, interesting, right? Because, and we're going to get into a few things. One of the things we're going to get into is, sorry, to the music off. We're going to get into this whole Carlee Russell thing, but I want to, before that, I want to talk about something else, because we've been going through this whole notion, this whole process of dealing with, we've been going through this whole process of dealing with things happening within the black community that have all been identified as, we're gonna blame the men, right? We're gonna blame the men, and like,
what more do you want from me?
right? But one of the things that's been happening is this new renaissance of women saying that they don't need brothers. And I'm not going to share the screen, but I want y'all to hear this. This is Keke Palmer, right? Y'all remember Keke Palmer from the situation that occurred with her baby daddy, right? So this is Keke Palmer at the first opportunity. This is her first concert, first live performance since that debacle that took place with Usher Raymond and her boyfriend, right? The very first time she came home, this is what she had to say. I believe this is the Broccoli City concert, something like that. But here you go. There you go. Technical things here, man. Technicality. All right.
The booties matter. My son gave me some ass. I'm my own boss and I got my own cash. I don't need a nigga. Only thing I need some ass.
So if you didn't hear her, she said, "Little booties matter." Her son gave her this ass. She don't need no nigga. Well, all she needs is to get a bag. And this is more of the toxic energy that's being put out. And it seems to be okay. Right? This is the toxic energy that's being put out, and it's perfectly fine. So there was a video going around, making its rounds on TikTok. And I'm going to play this video. I might even put it on the big screen. I think I'm going to share the screen for this video. Hold on for 1 second. All right, it's not letting me do it. So y'all just going to hear it, though, because I don't feel like playing around with the technology. Listen to this. This is currently at a wedding where the vows are being exchanged. I want y'all to pay attention to what you hear right here. What the hell?
In sickness,
and in health,
to love,
cherish,
and to obey.
We didn't talk about that one in council.
We did talk about.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention to one thing. Now, I know I didn't show the screen. She side-eyed the pastor when she said they didn't go over this in counseling. Just want to pay attention to that, all right? But the pastor struck back and basically stated, this is what we talked about. And let me tell you, anybody that's ever been to a rehearsal dinner, you know that every aspect of the vows and throughout marriage counseling, these are things that are going over in earnest, discussed in earnest. So for that reaction, this is what we're dealing with now. Now I'm gonna play it back one more time so y'all can hear the whole thing, and then I'm gonna let y'all do whatever y'all want to do with this.
In sickness.
In sickness.
And in health.
And in health.
To love.
To love.
Cherish.
Cherish.
And to obey.
We didn't talk about that one in counseling.
We did talk about that in counseling. Yes, we did. So you want me to repeat that again? You want to just keep going?
I think we can keep going.
All right. In sickness.
In sickness.
And in health.
So, and this is one of the problems that we're going to continue to see. The whole concept, and I'm not saying, but yeah, I am going to say this. That was a strike at her man to let her know who's running things and who's going to be in charge. That is a level of disrespect that's expected in our community. This is the level of disrespect that's expected in our community in terms of men. But at the same time, the people who support this will say that men are supposed to be leaders. Well, how can you be leaders if people don't respect you enough to even follow through or to follow behind you or to take your lead? It just doesn't make sense to me. The math ain't math. And so and I know we're going to get something else, but there's another, because this speaks to something else that's been coming up lately. Accountability. And I want y'all to hear this one real quick.
Want to change
we
what?
just
Not
don't want to
nothing.
deal.
Still not giving an answer.
I just gave you the answer. Why do women get so defensive when they're called out on
because
something?
You don't want to be honest. You don't want to deal with the truth. You don't want to change
we
what?
just
Not
don't want to
nothing.
deal with it.
Exactly. Why? Why is that an issue?
Because we kind of want to do what we want to do, and we don't see you guys. Men complain about things that are just sometimes just why are you upset about it? You do. And I feel
because
like
there's something wrong.
For me.
And the only way to communicate and fix things is to address it.
I don't like to be told
and
that
deal with it and fix it.
I don't like to be told that I'm wrong. I don't like to be told when I'm wrong.
That's established.
I get agitated when I find out that I'm wrong about something. Okay. I get agitated. And that's why I guess I get defensive, because I just want to do what I want to do. And no, it's not always right, but I just want to do what I want to do. And when you call me out, it makes me defensive because I don't even understand why you would be calling me out. It's not that serious.
Yeah. And this is what we've been dealing with. Now this takes us to our good young sister out here. I don't know how young she is, but our good sister, Carlee Russell. And I know it took a while to get here, but now that I'm here, we're going to park for a while, because we're going to go over some of the details of this particular situation. For those of you who don't know, earlier this week, there was a massive manhunt, multi-jurisdictional, multi-state manhunt that made international news concerning a woman, black woman, we need to call it what it is, who was walking or driving down an interstate in Alabama, and she made a call to 911 stating that she had found a child in the road, a little white child in the road, and that she followed this child for 600 yards. For those of you who don't know what 600 yards look like, it's the equivalent to 6 football fields. And eventually, she made another phone call to her mother, stating that that I don't know, something that was taking place. I guess alerting her mother to what was going on. Next thing you know, her mother heard a scream. When people arrived to the scene, they found Carlee's wig. They found Carlee's iPhone, her watch. They found some food that she had purchased earlier, I believe, from her job, her workplace. But what they didn't find was a bag of snacks that she had just bought from Target on her way to that location. Now, this sparked this thing turned into a frenzy. You had people all over the world posting up pictures of Carlee, posting up all these other things. And somebody else brought up something to me that I'm going to bring up in 2 seconds. 2 days go by. Mom is on the news. Dad is sitting there next to mom while mom is on the news. Then Carlee mysteriously makes it back home. She walks to her front door. Now, the word is that Carlee is unconscious when she comes in, which I don't know how you get to the front door and then you become unconscious, but okay. And then, long story short, nobody wants to talk about anything anymore. Carlee, if the family is asking for privacy, a big ass GoFundMe was out, raised like $90,000 if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things that took place was a lot of scrutiny starting to unwind as more people started to wonder, okay, the details. First of all, where was the child? Second of all, who abducted you? Third of all, why isn't any of this stuff making sense? It's not making sense. The math ain't math. So then slowly but surely, the police start leaking certain pieces of this case. The police started leaking video footage of Carlee not stopping her car, but pulling up to the side lane, the emergency lane, and coasting, I don't know, for what, a half a mile before finding a destination. And then you see her with a bag in her hand and see her dashing off into the woods. This story became a little fishy. And I'm going to tell you something. So more and more came out. And what it really came down to is the story didn't make sense. And everybody could pretty much see that this was a scam. This was a hoax. Now, the irony behind this is that a lot of people weren't necessarily falling for this. For this to be what it was, it had too many moving parts. Abductions are really simple. When you start talking about people who are abducted, they are in a location, and then nobody hears from them. There's no phone calls. There's no babies on the road. There's none of this stuff. None of these things, especially on a highly trafficked road. So her story gets out. According to her, she was snatched up and had a burlap sack or something put over her face, and this big white man with balding red hair put her in the back of the cab in his tractor, and next thing you know, there's a white woman playing with her hair and feeding her, and they gave her $122 or something like that, like these details. And then she made her way home. Now the irony behind all of this is that the none of the facts measured up, and everybody knew from the police who had press conferences, this shit was a lie. And the worst part about this is, like, the most damning evidence came from her. She's Googling how to get away with it. She's Googling the movie Taken. She's Googling how much do you have to actually put money out for Amber Alerts, things of that nature. And then everybody could pretty much see where this was going. The problem came in mostly afterwards because it's most likely she's going to face some time behind this. They've already talked about the fact that the police are just basically compiling their case together right now so that they can charge her for this, because a lot of resources went into this, false reporting went into this. You know what I'm saying? And so this is one of those things where people don't understand the gravity of this. So you had a lot of sisters, primarily, because I didn't see any brothers say this, but there were some sisters who called her out on this shit. They read the tea leaves. They knew that this was mostly like an attention seeking thing that she was doing, where she was her boyfriend had just left her. So the attention seeking part of this was to figure out how she can get out there and I don't know, make him jealous again. But this is bullshit. And a lot of us was calling it out. So we had some pushback though from a lot of sisters who said, first of all, all y'all was saying is y'all hope she put up prayers hoping that she got home safe. As soon as she gets home safe, now everybody wants to have questions. It's just weird. No, what's weird is this, none of this makes sense. And when you make a public issue out of this, and the public invest their time, and the public is pulled in, roped in, because we were minding our business when this pulled up on our screens. We were minding our business when this became headline news. You had search parties out there walking in the wood with dogs and flashlights. People were invested. People put their money into the GoFundMe. Everybody who invested 5 minutes into this deserved an explanation, a rational explanation that actually helped us connect the dots, because sex trafficking is a big deal. Black women being kidnapped and snatched off the street is a big deal. Children being involved in a sex trade is a big deal. So this woman, by performing this fraudulent act, and I'm gonna tell you how slick the media is about this. Anybody that spent 2 minutes looking over this particular case understood it was fraud. But this was their opportunity to spit in the face of the black community, but more specifically black women. To let black women know that, nah, we ain't riding with y'all like y'all thought we were riding with y'all. And we're going to do this because we understand that this is going to be a huge mark on the plight of black women who may need services to help sort them out in case they are sex trafficked, in case they are put in somebody's trunk, slammed into somebody's SUV, or put into somebody's work van. Now you have single-handedly destroyed the potential credibility of all those other women who are legitimately missing. The horrors. You had black families who were angry about this because their real resources was taken away from them finding their legitimately trafficked family members. They're legitimately the family members that they had that were legitimately snatched off the streets. And now we got this hoax. And here's the thing when we talk about women not being able to hold women accountable. And one of the reasons why I don't ask women to give advice anymore. Because y'all create all of these soft landings for women who are in violation, who do things to damage your image. can never fully hold women accountable in our community for anything they do. It's like y'all all share an arrested development with a childlike focus and a childlike manner, and a lot of you don't even have the capability of seeing past your emotions. And because you don't have the ability to see past your emotions, you allow scammers like this a safe landing place. I know the last person sitting in this damn chair right here, I produced her shows, and the scammer she was. Soft landing places. So I know there's an inability, and it ain't just that, it's some sap ass brothers out here too, because you don't have a backbone. And this is why I showed that wedding video. Why I played the wedding video earlier. Because if that brother had any backbone, he'd have got up and walked off of the front of he would have walked out of the church. Or he would have canceled the wedding, and it would have just been a big ass party. Food and drinks, and then everybody take your gifts back and go home. But we live in an era of weak men. And because we live in an era of weak men, a lot of brothers don't have the ability to even stand up to hold our women accountable. And that's, and I understand why. Because in our culture, it's just not, it's something that's been in place for so long that a lot of brothers have a hard time withdrawing or pulling away from it. But this Carlee Russell situation, one of the reasons why it's so egregious is because, and why so many sisters can relate to this shit, is because this is not the mental health illness that everybody's trying to call it. This is the dysfunctional behavior that's shared by a lot of women in the sisterhood. So they can see themselves creating a lie and then falling into the rabbit hole that these lies produce. You see, once you start off foundationally with a lie, you have to tell more lies to get on top of that lie. And the thing I think that happened with this Carlee Russell situation, she didn't expect this to blow up like this. She thought it was going to be something that was local, something that was going to get her boyfriend's attention, because if you watch Six the Goddess break that down earlier today, and the link is on my page if you'd like to see it on Facebook and Instagram. Sister Goddess broke that down beautifully in regards to her response and how that response was mostly to regain or reclaim or fight for the affections of her man. Now, and let me just tuck on this for a second, the toxic nature of our community. That brother's Instagram account is up to like 20,000 subs now, like 20,000 followers after this particular case. Like, women are jumping out the truck for this dude because they want to know what's going on in between his legs to have a woman kidnap her damn self out here on the highway and create this cockamamie story that drew international following coverage. But and another thing too, and I said I was going to bring this up. All the pictures that were put out, right? This is a safety thing, right? What I'm about to talk about. All the pictures that were put out about Carlee Russell, none of them look like the woman that walked back into that house. And see, ladies, this is one of the things we talk about all the time when you put on all these cake batters worth of makeup and cosmetics, and you put on all this hair and it doesn't look like you. Somebody could literally stumble across you in public and not recognize you. You're in a dangerous situation. Your picture's been plastered all over the place, but your picture don't look like you now. It's almost like your picture, because of what you put on your face, becomes the physical filter. So y'all need to truly understand, like, the dangers that come with you operating like that. Operating with this need to cake and bake your makeup on. You look like somebody totally different, and then we won't recognize you out here in the public just wandering around and can't nobody find you. You walking right past you, hiding us in broad daylight. But I want to yeah, this whole situation, the Kiki Palmer situation was an international hit. This particular situation was international. Sisters, I've been telling y'all for the longest, y'all need to reclaim y'all image. And y'all keep excusing and providing safe landing spaces and golden parachutes for women out here destroying your image. And what's happening now is internationally speaking, this stuff is catching up with y'all. First of all, you haven't even realized the rollback on policies here in America that directly impact you. They're just in Florida, I believe Ron DeSantis was part of a policy which ended lifetime alimony. So women, you marry somebody, you divorce them, that alimony is only going to be for a certain period of time in the state of Florida. And I know a lot of women would go down to Florida to get married just because of the alimony laws. You don't have access to that anymore. The fact of the matter is, Section 8 vouchers aren't worth the paper they're printed on. You got a lot of women out here right now that are in shelters right now because they can't get into Section 8 housing. Them and their children are living in the cars. They're living in minivans. They're driving from parking lot to parking lot to the point where police enforcement has been issued. You've been having women getting locked up because they're illegally parked and making these places of residence in the parking lots of these shopping malls. Times are getting hard. I've seen but the international thing, let me get to that. Because there's two cases that come to mind. I'm not sure if we talked about it last week, but I'm going to bring it back, refresh your memory. Remember the sassy trucker? A sister by the name of Tierra Allen that's in Dubai right now. They currently have her, she's about to go on trial for talking loud to a man in public. See, this type of behavior, this reputation is following women internationally now. Black women, you have developed a reputation for being sassy, for being out of control, for being masculine. And also, as Kiki Palmer said, hold on. As Kiki Palmer said, well, I'm gonna go back to it. What did Kiki Palmer say? Yeah, Kiki Palmer.
I gave me some ass. I'm my own boss and I got my own cash. I don't need a nigga, only thing I need is bag.
Yeah. The whole world hears that. It means you're uncovered. Protection-wise. And so there's no hesitancy now in terms of punishing bad behavior, internationally speaking. It's just not. And I want to give you one further. Anybody, there's a sister out that's like a traveling blogger, and she's been collecting money from people so that she can travel to like 70 countries. Her name is Mary Jane Bynum, right? Mary Jane Bynum. Anybody following that story? Mary Jane Bynum? Mary Jane is she was in a hotel in Italy recently. I'm not sure if she's still there. And they had told her when she came in with some food, listen, we have a no outside food policy. So if you get food, you have to get it from the hotel or eat it out where you bought it from. You can't bring it back here. Well, Mary Jane, flagged the chick, walked up to her room with her food. She came back down the next day, and the lady said, for you violating our policy, that's going to cost you 700 euros. So that's about 750 American dollars. Now, if you don't know, she was already financially struggling because she had lost her revenue that she was getting from social media. So I think they shut down her Instagram account, and I think they shut down YouTube or TikTok, one of those two. So she lost access to that revenue. Plus, she was out here, according to some of the sisters that was following her channel and sending her money, she was scamming them out of their money. So they stopped dealing with her. So she's struggling out there. So she was out there and she told them, I'm going to do what I want to do and all this other stuff. Lady called the owner of the hotel up. The owner of the hotel pulled up with two Italian goons. She smacked postcards out the sister's hand and grabbed her by her throat, choke slammed her like Triple T off of the WWE. Said, I need that bread. I need that money. And then, the sister was like, yo, it wasn't cops. Sis, let me explain something to you. Organized crime might not be what it is here anymore in America. But in Italy, the Italian mafia still is the law. And guess what? They understand you're not under any protection. And because they understand you're not under any protection, they're not going to protect you, sis. So we really need for y'all to understand. Y'all need to reclaim y'all image. Y'all need to reclaim y'all global image. Because if y'all don't do the work of reclaiming y'all global image, I promise you, it's only going to get worse because you've already convinced the world. You got Ebony K. Williams talking about we're going to start volunteering to be single mothers. And honestly, that's something that's been going on longer than you know. When I was in high school, in the 80s and the 90s, they were building daycares in schools because our young ladies were choosing to get pregnant because in their minds, they wanted to feel unconditional love. And they felt like having a child would give them that unconditional love. Now, there's a lot of the women today that are complaining about deadbeat dads, but what you had back then was a lot of people getting trapped. And nobody wants to talk about it because it's not politically correct. But back in those days, man, listen, I had brothers who would walk into the rooms. Like they would go to the bathroom and come out the bathroom back to the bedroom and see their girlfriends trying to stick little holes in the packs of condoms with pin cushions or pin cushion needles. Women were literally digging into the trash to take used condoms out of the trash to inadvertently stick them into their private parts, hoping to come out with a baby. This was the 90s. This was the 80s and the 90s. Now, so the concept of women being selectively selecting single motherhood, and hey sisters, I tell you all the time, I love y'all, but y'all don't have the gift of foresight. You already see the conditions of neighborhoods and communities where there's no men around. Your money, the less than 10% of you, the 4% of you that actually make six figures, that's not going to replace the presence of a man. And y'all are not going to get Dr. Umar to convince us that we should come in and step in for those types of decisions. That's not happening. So you got that going on. You got the Carlee Russell situation where it's if I can't have this man, nobody can have a man. So I'm going to create this scam and I'm going to do what I can to force this man back into my life. I'm going to make his protection, his fight or flight mechanism operation or thought process kick in. I'm trying to play on those masculine instincts that we have. Once again, shout out to Sixth Goddess for pointing that out. Then we got sisters talking about, like I said, Keke Palmer, I don't need a man. And, I've heard other songs. I don't need a man. I don't need a man. But when shit hits the fan, then you're going to be saying that we've abandoned the black community. It's not going to work. The shaming tactics don't work. We've had an education in the shaming tactics, the insults, the guilt, and the need to be right. We've had a full education in that. Black men in particular, are fully aware that those tactics no longer work, the shaming tactics. In fact, we need to start employing more shaming tactics on the sisters who identify as conscious leaders and thought leaders in our community as to why you're not providing corrective behaviors to our women. Why you are not offering critique. And I often know what the answer is. Oh, well, they don't listen to us, which is bullshit because you expect us to listen to you. But yet and still you want us to be the leaders of the community. You got to make up your mind. So we can't keep excusing bad behavior and not want to call it what it is. If you don't want to deal with the arrested development, if you don't want to deal with the fact that the lack of maturity is childlike, delusional, Disneyland fantasy of what life is, if y'all not going to deal with that, then what the hell are we going to do in terms of building the community? Because we can only do but so much. You still make the final choice in terms of how you're going to respond to our leadership, because the leadership is leading. I just showed you just a glimpse of what it was when I asked the brothers about what we plan on doing and how we plan on building. I showed you a glimpse of that. We have these conversations on air and off air, online and offline, all the time. And not only that, we have built networks and are building networks, creating foundational opportunities for the communities we build. The only question is whether or not we're going to build them with you. So, with that said, I want to thank everybody for pulling up. If anybody that watches this on the replay, appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I did this double shot, so y'all get to tell me how it came out. Y'all get to tell me how it came out. All right? And so until then, war and peace, family. Because as I always say, if you want peace, you better be willing to wage war for it. And with that, Brother Lester, I am out of here. Let's go.